Inspired talks of Swami Vivekananda. Pranam Mantra. Om Namah Shri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suray Sachit Sukha Swarupaya Swamine Tapaharine. We have been covering inspired talks of Swami Vivekananda, which he delivered on July 27, 1895. Just to remind you, these talks were given to select band of disciples at any time, not more than 10. And those of you who have some idea about spiritual things would realize that when a master talks, he must have a very small, close group. The best of any teacher always comes only when he is with his own. Those, while talking public, public lectures or classes, teacher cannot deliver the best. Swamiji is delivering his best because he is with his own. And practically, the whole of complete works of Swami Vivekananda practically is amongst that very small group. He used to take classes. Normally, people think that Swamiji used to deliver lectures. He did. But the best things that we have, they are the class notes. Swamiji was discussing Kathopanishad. In the previous talk, it was continuing, and now he is talking about the importance of willpower. Those of you who have studied Kathopanishad, and we have Kathopanishad there in the playlist, you'll find. In English, it's there. In Bengali, it is there. And Swami Vivekananda wanted that those interested in spirituality should study Kathopanishad. Now, in Kathopanishad, there is that famous metaphor where the journey of an individual is compared to a chariot in which there are five horses controlled by the reins, and there's a driver. And this charioteer, with the help of those reins, controls the horses. The horses are the senses, the reins are the mind, and the charioteer, that is intellect. Now, the problem with English language is that mind is not properly classified in English language. Of course, after all, you see, the Western psychology and Western everything, whatever you say, so young, they're yet to gain maturity. In the Indian system, more than 2,500 years ago, our ancestors had very clearly defined and described the different functions of the mind. Mind itself cannot be defined or cannot be described really. You know mind by its function, but you know that mind functions differently to perform different kind of work. One of them is data collection, sorting out data, deciding whether or not to do, and finally, the final decision. This final decision, what I should do, what I should not do, worse, even when you are engaged in some kind of work, you are thinking of something else. It's lack of willpower. I vividly remember, and I'm such a beautiful example of this, that when I was young, we were forced to study 2 to 3 hours daily. The book would be there, and the supervisor would see that my books are open, and very tactfully, either on the book itself or inside the desk, there would be storybook. So for the world, I was reading a book, but actually I was reading a storybook. And stories fascinated me so much. And I always felt sorry for the topper types who studied only books. But looking back, I realized that my mind was not under control. If my mind had been under control, I would have done what I was supposed to be doing. And, well, the difference between one person from another lies strictly in this willpower. People write so much on how to develop willpower. We have one beautiful book from the Ramakrishna Mission, How to Develop Willpower. It's about willpower. Willpower and its development. Oh, in every book fair, it sells in thousands and thousands. One of the most popular books brought out by the Ramakrishna Mission. And people often complain that there is nothing for the reader in it. Of course, because those who have willpower, they have. Those who don't have, they don't have. And those who don't have, if they want to develop, they will have to struggle a lot, which they will not. Now, people who do not have that willpower, they want a quick fix method. They want a simple solution to this problem. But there is no simple solution to this problem. When you find somebody willpower is very strong, think of the freedom fighters of India. These freedom fighters, they were young. Generally, young people have very strong willpower. Generally, they were fighting against the British, and they used to throw bombs or do something. And if caught, they were never scared. They were never scared. They never ran away. They're not terrified of death. Even Gandhiji, when he was leading protest satyagraha, never scared. Oh, imagine the willpower that he must have developed. We have Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, the kind of willpower that he had. It's a different thing that the British forces were much more powerful. That's a different issue. Thing is, talking at the individual level. Now, the metaphor used in Kathopanishad is so beautiful that if the reins are loose, the horses will go on their own. And once the horses go on their own, there will be an accident. And the passenger traveling in the back seat, he will be injured. What to do? The driver must be powerful. I always wonder at these sports car drivers, particularly those who are into racing cars. Those who are into racing cars, to me, they appear to be really greats. Long ago, when I was young, I had read one book by Alistair MacLean, The Road to Dusty Death. And there he describes about racing car drivers and how they drive their racing cars. I found it really amazing. Now you think of those racing cars. They can drive real fast. And the application of brakes, the application of steering wheels, etc. What a great power of intuition and what great willpower. In our life also, generally successful people have very strong willpower. Those who do not succeed that much, they have very poor willpower. If you go to government offices, and I've been to lots of government offices, most of those people who are in the lower ranks, see, lower rank is something which can happen because you may not be able to clear those exams that take you to the higher echelons of power. But if you are saddled with one of those thankless jobs, you can You can always improve your inner being just by being sincere to your duties. But the forces that made that person not succeed earlier, those very forces make that person go further down. Once I was at Kanpur, and there we had some problem with our electricity bills. I went to that office, and while seeing a monk inside the office, they were polite. And finally, I was sent to one gentleman. He was a Sikh, and he was so diligent. And he worked with such care. I was amazed how I wish I had met him again sometime. It was one of those rare occasions when I met someone in the government office working as a junior clerk. He was an elderly man and yet so meticulous, so considerate. Even at that time, I had felt that this gentleman will surely go up. Some maybe not in this life because He's stuck in the rut. Maybe in the next. Now, this is what Swamiji is explaining here. That the will is a still small voice. Sometimes, your conscience says, do this, don't do this. The real ruler. Buddhi, the term is buddhi. It's roughly translated as intellect in the English language. But these things are best understood when you use Sanskrit word. Buddhi is in the system of creation according to Vedanta, according to Yoga, according to Hindu traditions. If you do not get into the mythologies of Hindu religion, you find that there is a pure consciousness which is known as Atman, or whatever name you give. And from this side of the world, as far as your body is concerned, nearest to Atman is Atman's own reflection, which is intellect. Below that comes the mind that vacillates, mind that offers tricks to you. Mind is connected both to the intellect and to the senses. And because mind is connected to both sides, depending on which one is more powerful, if your attraction for the senses is extremely powerful, mind will go towards that. This has been beautifully exemplified in Christian traditions when they talk about angels and devils. The devil pulls you towards the senses. Angels pull you towards not going the wrong way. But there are no angels and no devils. What we have is our own intellect and our senses, or rather, the senses with which we are saddled. Senses and sense objects are same. They're absolutely same. And if you give license to your senses, and we often give license to these senses, then mind doesn't listen to the intellect. No, it does not. So buddhi, the intellect has to be very powerful. How does this buddhi come? The willpower comes. First, it comes through the training of parents, then school, then society. These three are the most important things. And then your own orientation coming from the past life. Then the kind of company that you keep. You might have noted that when you are in the company of good persons, you become good. And when you are not in the company of good persons, you become like them. A few days ago, I met somebody from rural Bengal. He had come all the way to meet me, and a very ordinary boy. And he was crying and was telling that he's in very bad shape and he has listened to some of my Bengali talks. And he said that I'm in very serious problem. Whenever I'm with good people, I'm okay. I behave normally. And whenever I'm in evil company, I behave just like them. I said, don't you worry, we are also like that. So Yet some consolation because it's a fact. We monks, we monks, we are good because we are in company. Monks who stay alone, I'm extremely suspicious of them. Extremely. You might have noted, you take a piece of paper, if you don't want to believe me. Of course, examples don't prove the law, but you will see that take a piece of paper, apply matchstick to it, the paper will burn. But a very small piece will remain unburnt. Same with coal. Burn it, take one piece out, whole thing will burn down, little bit will remain. But put all these things in a conflagration, whether it be paper or coal or wood, everything will burn down. Everything. Because when there is company, there is heat. And when there is heat, anything can burn down. The same thing happens with culture. When you're in good company, it affects you. Now, as for saints, they are different beings, and saints are not to be found everywhere. Sadhavo nahi sarvatra. There is a very famous saying in Sanskrit. You don't find sadhus everywhere. Company hugely affects your willpower. So always try to be in good company. So continue that Swami says, it has done all that binds us. The ignorant will leads to bondage. The knowing will can free us. It's the same mind that runs after the senses with these senses, and the same mind that becomes intellect, that guides us, that says, don't do this. Swamiji says, knowing will and ignorant will. For example, kids have a tendency to indulge in certain things, but when they grow up, they don't. Because the will has now changed into the knowing will. Earlier, it was the ignorant will. The terms used in Indian system is man and buddhi. So when you have the knowing will, it liberates you. The will can be made strong in thousands of hours. That's the question. That okay, fine. You're giving us a theoretical understanding of what is intellect, what is buddhi, what is will, how to do it. The will can be made strong in thousand ways. And every way is a kind of yoga. And that is important for those who are interested in these things. Don't you think that yoga is only of four kinds? Yoga, anything that helps your mind become more concentrated, that helps you increase your willpower is yoga. Everything, anything that. And so my method will not be yours, and your method will not be hers. Every way is a kind of yoga, but the systematized yoga accomplishes the work more quickly. So when you have a very systematic method, so Swami says bhakti, karma, raj, and jnana you get over the ground more effectively. These are more systematic. We know a lot about it. Particularly as far as Raj Yoga is concerned, we know very well. Put on all powers, philosophy, work, prayer, meditation, crowd, all sail. Put on all head of steam and reach the goal. The sooner, the better. Think of a sailboat. You have motor and you have sail, and there's been just put on everything. Move fast, move fast. Don't say that it's only Gyan Yoga for me. Don't say it's only Bhakti Yoga for me. Don't say it's Karma Yoga. Just do everything. When you're working and everyone has to work, connect it with Lord. You have emotions. You have words. Think that every word you're speaking is the praise of Lord, and discriminate all the time. Be contemplative all the time. Put your entire system, head, heart, hands, everything, synchronize them, and you'll find that you're moving very fast. When I was a young monk, I remember once our senior had said, I had joined at Devghar, which is a school center, and long back, 80s, 80, 81. So it was vacation time. So students were not there. It was a long vacation, more than 50 days. And senior had said that make sure to practice devotion in the temple. We have a shrine there. And whatever you do with a service attitude and do study of scriptures always. And make sure to do japadhyan as much as you can. And you will see that you make progress. Now, progress in spiritual life takes time. See, one senior monk had once told me that once you become a monk, you think that you know you have become spiritual, no, but you don't. It takes a minimum of 15, 20 years just to understand what is true spirituality. Just a few days ago, one of my brother monks, younger brother, younger monk, a very nice person, very jovial person. So he was talking to me and suddenly he said that, let's see now, it's more than 15 years for me. And I feel that I've started understanding spirituality a bit. So then I laughed and narrated the story that, look, this is what a senior had said. To think that I'll grow spiritually once I become a monk. No, it's not that. It takes time. But all out effort has to be made. When you want to win the race, when the goal is absolutely clear, and when the path is clear, well, put all the effort. All the effort. Don't wait. So he says, put on all head of steam and reach the goal. The sooner, the better. Now, from there, Swamiji talks about baptism and Eucharist. It has more to do with uh, Christian traditions because they were all Christians. It's not important for us. Just that these are Christian rituals. Baptism is when father purifies a baby and says, now you're Christian. And Eucharist is when they share bread and wine, like reminding Jesus had said that this bread and wine is his flesh and blood. So people think that by sharing bread and wine in the church, they're getting a taste of what they will have once they die in the heaven. But Swamiji's take is something slightly different. Baptism is external purification symbolizing the internal. It is of Buddhist origin. Sorry. I don't know why Swamiji has said, because um, the concept of baptism was already there in Jewish tradition, well, much before Buddha had come, I think. Because if you read my book, The World of Religions, where I have discussed Judaism, once Abraham started this concept of being close to God, the concept of baptism started. So external purification, maybe Swamiji is talking about baptism as is done in the church. But Jewish baptism was they used to go into a river, take a bath, etc. But it's purificatory, right? Symbolizing the internal purification. And you'll find this has been taken up by Islam also. Abrahamic religions, they have their practices are so common. Now, in India, when we wash, it's kind of a ritual, but it's not a religious ritual in the sense it is in the Abrahamic religion. So we wash our hand and feet, and we keep washing our hand and feet all the time. And so the Eucharist, where you have this bread and wine, is a survival of a very ancient custom of savage tribes, Swamiji says. And they sometimes killed their great chiefs and ate their flesh in order to obtain in themselves the qualities that made their leaders great. So there was a tribal leader, and he would be killed because he was very powerful, and then they would eat, hoping that his qualities will enter them. Pretty dangerous. They believed that in such a way, the characteristic that made the chief brave and wise would become theirs and make the whole tribe brave and wise instead of only one man. Swamiji had actually studied a lot, and so he knew lots of things. And there are many books on ancient religious customs. And must have come across such things. Now, human sacrifice was also a Jewish idea and one that clung to them despite many chastisements from Jehovah. The Jewish tribe, they were pretty violent people actually. And in spite of all the slavery and everything, they didn't calm down. And we find how they were shouting and screaming that Jesus be crucified. They had this problem. Now, Jesus was gentle and loving, but to fit him into Jewish beliefs, the idea of human sacrifice in the form of atonement or as a human scapegoat had to come in. Now, this is very funny. I don't know if the Christians and Christian listeners will accept that. Actually, this is a very serious problem with religion. Spirituality stands at a different pedestal, but when it comes to religion, some of the practices need to be fitted with the local sentiments. Hinduism is very good at it, and so is Christianity. Those of you who are interested in Christian traditions will find that the Christians, they're very good at converting a local custom into some kind of saint's day. So the purpose might have been noble, but it created lots of problems. So Swami says Jesus was gentle and loving. He didn't like all these sacrifices. And you would remember how he had shouted against money changers and those who were selling doves, etc., and threw them out, revolted against them. But to fit him into Jewish beliefs of sacrifice. So the idea of human sacrifice in the form of atonement or as a human scapegoat. So when Christians say that God sent Jesus to purify us of our original sin, when there is baptizement, the church assures that the baby has now been cleansed of the original sin that Adam and Eve committed thousands of years ago. My God, what a sin! I tell you, if you go rationally into these things, you find them just laughable. That's the only thing. And to think that these people laugh at Hindu customs. This cruel idea made Christianity depart from the teachings of Jesus himself. That's the problem. Because when you read the Bible, New Testament, you feel as if you are reading Vedanta. It's really unthinkable that such a violent race like the Jews, because the early Christians were Jews, they could come up with such a wonderful work. And that's why people think that Christianity was hugely influenced by Buddhism. Maybe, may not be, because I'm not a student of history of religions. I don't even believe in it. So, but when you see Christian practices, you feel surprised that a Bible Bible, which reads like Vedanta, it has been deformed so much. Anyway, this cruel idea made Christianity depart from the teachings of Jesus himself and develop a spirit of persecution and bloodshed. Because slowly, more tribals were joining the Christianity fold. And Jews themselves, they were pretty violent. So the whole thing became, and there was the tyranny of the Romans on them. So all things combined, Christianity has become a big khichdi, as we say here in India. Say it's my nature, never say it's my duty to do anything, whatever. Now, this is something that detachment. Whenever you work, whenever you work, never work with a motive. Don't even work as a sense of duty. Anyone who has sense of duty is a bound person. He's a slave. Why should I be slave? When I became a monk, I was barely 20. And actually, I understood nothing of spirituality. And nor did I have any capacity to serve the society. And I was just talking about serving the society. And Srimad Swami Vivekananda, who is now vice president, he was principal of Ramakrishna Mission Devgar Hindu. He laughed at me. He said, "What capability you have that you will serve the society?" Unknown to myself, I suddenly realized I was free. And the sense of freedom, complete freedom, well, it created problems for me at times, no doubt. But overall, it's the main driving force in my life. If anybody asks me what you really gained in this life, in monastic life, I'll say sense of freedom. Sense of freedom at every step. When we perform duty, like in Ramakrishna Mission, you have to listen to your superiors, not like a slave, but generally you're given some responsibility and you're expected to carry it out. There's a sense of freedom. You are doing out of love. When a mom feeds her baby, it's not out of duty, it's out of love. It's her way of life. Whatever you do, never do for others. And don't even do it as matter of duty. Do it as your way of life. Once one this Swiss lady, I know the family, and she wanted to study Gita. So she started reading Gita. And she was puzzled by the statement when Lord Krishna says that fight this war. If you win, you will enjoy the world. And if you die, you'll go to heaven. He said, but this is jihadi mentality. This is jihadi mentality. This is what jihadis say. Now they have come up with ideas like Gajwai Hind. They want to conquer India. And if they conquer, they rule India. If they die, somebody will be waiting for him in the heaven. So I explained, no, it's not that. Jihad is a duty. You decide on something, you have some motive, and then you say that this is what I have to do. Lord Krishna is not putting some sense of duty there. He's not giving some idea of achievement there. He says it's just your way of life. You're a Kshatriya, it's your way of life. There's no holy farman. It's not that somebody has dictated that this has to be, this war has to be. No, 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 no. It's your way of life. It's the way of life of a Kshatriya. So, dear listeners, you have to keep in mind whatever you do, when you do spiritual practices, When you do Jap Dhyan, those of you who are initiated disciples, you don't have to do those spiritual practices because your Guru has said, if you are doing for that reason, stop doing it, it will do you good. You must do it as your way of life. This is what I do. This is my way of life. The way for a mom, loving her baby is her way of life. Now, this is very important. This is what selfless work is known as unselfishness. This is what unselfishness is. Means doing something not because it's your duty, doing it because it's your way of life. And then it quotes from Satyameva Jayate, from Mundaka Upanishad, truth alone triumphs, not untruth. Stand upon truth, and you have got God. Well, something very obvious because one name of God is truth. God alone exists. And when you stand upon truth, but mind it, people who are living in the society, they cannot practice truth all the time. People come complaining that, see, they try to follow some of these principles and they were in mess. So Mahabharata very clearly says, what are the conditions when you can make a compromise with truth? These are the ideals. These are meant for people who are ready to give up everything for God. It's not, it's these things are not meant for people who are still in the world, who still need enjoyment, who still feel that they have a sense of duty. Please. And then Swamiji talks about Brahmins for whatever reason. We don't know why Swamiji was moving from topic to topic on that day. There must be many reasons. And he's talking about the four Varnas, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. And Swamiji says, I'll read out Swamiji and then explain. From the earliest times in India, the Brahmin caste have held themselves beyond all law. They claim to be gods. They are poor, but their weakness is that they seek power. So, if you go to ancient law books like Manusmriti, etc., you'll find that it's advised that Brahmins will be in the pursuit of knowledge. But again, we find they are above all laws. In a sense, they say they are superior. Surprisingly, when it comes to monks, you find that monks are devoted to learning, monks are given to renunciation, but they don't demand any right from the society. They don't demand any power from the society. There's a fundamental difference between Brahminical values and monastic values. Here are about 60 million of people who are good and moral and hold no property. And they are what they are because from their birth they are taught that they are above law, above punishment. So we find that in books like Manusmriti, where punishment is discussed, Brahmins are supposed to be given less punishment for the similar crime that a common man commits. There are reasons for it because it's believed that a sensible person, if chastised, will behave, but a crude mind will not. So, anyway, that's not our topic of discussion. They feel themselves to be twice born to be sons of God. When you get your sacred thread, they are known as Dvija. Because once you get Gayatri Mantra, they feel that they are now ready for moving towards God. So Swamiji, in general, you find that Swamiji had pretty negative opinion about the Brahmins. Sometimes, once in a while, he praises, but in general, and Swamiji even criticized Shankaracharya for that reason, because Shankaracharya, or for that matter, any prophet, he belongs to the age. Because he belongs to that particular age, he generally doesn't want to break anything. Holy Mother Sri Sarada Devi once told Swami Vivekananda that Sri Ramakrishna had come to build, he hadn't come to demolish. So these teachers, they don't demolish anything. And during the time of Shankaracharya, Brahminical values were strong. The sobriety was of Brahmins was strong. He didn't have to break it down. And why? When you're preaching spiritually, why worry about caste values? But Swami Vivekananda didn't like all this, and he has criticized Shankaracharya here and there once in a while. So, well, some people think that even in the Ramakrishna mission, they think that Swamiji and Shankaracharya's ideas were different philosophical ideas. No, they were not. Because Swamiji has categorically said, as Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother said, that we are all Advaitins. We are all followers of Shankaracharya. Even our sannyas, the sannyas that we have got, is in the tradition of Shankaracharya. So to say that there was any kind of philosophical conflict between the words of Swamiji and Shankaracharya is wrong. So then, July 28th, this next day, Swamiji is talking about Avadhut Gita. Now, Avadhut Gita is a very interesting book because Sri Ramakrishna was given Avadhut Gita and Astavakra Gita. Astavakra Gita and Avadhut Gita, they're quite similar. And in Astavakra Gita, it's all Advaita. And so in Avadhut Gita also, it's all Advaita. Now, Avadhut Gita is by Dattatreya. And all about Advaita. All about Advaita. It will not be possible for us to explain each of these statements. Lots of statements we have explained. Wherever necessary, we will explain. All knowledge depends upon calmness of mind, which is obvious, we know. He who has filled the universe, he who is self in self, how shall I salute him? How to salute God? If God were to be somewhere up in the universe, if God were to be one of those idols, I can salute. But one who is in the entire universe, who is as a self of everyone, where? Where to salute? How to salute? Mind it. These are extremely subtle ideas, and these are meant for highly purified minds. It's good to know these things, extremely bad to practice. Unless you have reached that state of purity, state of unity, don't even think of all this. To know the Atman as my nature is both knowledge and realization. So, knowledge of Atman, it's not like knowing something. Now, here is this computer screen before me. I know this screen is there, and there's there have been continuous problems. Now, YouTube people, I don't know what's the problem with them. They keep on experimenting with things, and sometimes pictures go wrong, and sometimes viewership goes wrong. I don't know. Presently, the picture that I see is poor. Earlier, the images were sharp. So I can know all this. I can know that here is the computer, here's the screen, and here's the image. The image is defective. Earlier, the image was good. Knowledge of Atman is not like that. To know Atman means to be one with it. And this is something we cannot understand being in this universe. Because here, when we know something, you don't become one with it. Here is this pen, my favorite example. I know this pen. And those of you who are watching it, you know this pen. You know this pen. So do you become this pen? No, you don't become this pen. Isn't it foolish to say that if you know something, you become one with it? Simply because I know this pen, simply because I know you, does that mean that I'll become you? No, I won't. Then why they say regarding Atman that you become one with Atman? There's there's a famous statement in the Upanishads, Brahma Ved Brahmaiva Bhavati. You don't become this pen because you are not. Essentially, as per your essence, you are not this pen. You would have become this pen if your essence were to be this pen. Your essence being Atman. When you know Atman, you become one with Atman. Now, there's a very interesting thing that you know that here you have this body, you know here you have this mind, and you know that these things are not consciousness. So how can I know Atman? Actually, you cannot. Till you have a mind, till you have this body awareness, you cannot know Atman. Because body is not Atman, mind is not Atman. And that's why with this body and this mind, you can never know Atman. Just not possible. Because to know, you will have to become one with it. Now, body can never be Atman. Mind can never be Atman. Mind as we understand. Because these cannot be Atman, it simply means that till you have this body, till you have this mind, you cannot know Atman. So how if I commit suicide? Nothing will happen. Your mind will be there, you will get another body. Finished. Initially, you will be in Preta world, in the world of the ghosts. And then you will find a new body. Finished. And your journey will prolong. Those of you who are interested in understanding Advait, please understand. Till you have even slightest sense of duty, as mentioned earlier, slightest sense of body, slightest sense of mind, you cannot know Atman. To know Atman means to be one with it. And to be one with it, essentially you have to be same. Your essence has to be same. But the essence of consciousness and the essence of matter cannot be same. Body means matter. Now, matter cannot be consciousness. Till you have the sense of body, you cannot know Atman. Till you have the sense that you are mind or you have mind, you cannot know Atman. That's why senses need to be controlled. And once you control the senses, you control the mind, and slowly the body consciousness goes away. And then you become one with Atman because only when you have given up everything that you become one with Atman. To know the Atman as my nature is, to know Atman as my nature, my essence. I am He, there is not the least doubt of it. Aham Brahmasmi. No thought, no word, no deed creates a bondage for me. I'm beyond the senses, I am knowledge and bliss. Such a person, one who has known that is Atman, nothing can create bondage for him. Obviously, because he doesn't have the sense that he's a mind. He doesn't have a sense that he has a body. Because all the actions are performed by body whose impressions are left on the mind. Let the body create as much impression it wants to create on the mind. But I'm not mine. I'm not mine. So let it create. It doesn't matter. It's not going to affect me. Ah, let's stop here. Our time is up. And the remaining portion. There is neither existence nor non-existence. All is Atman's beautiful statement. We'll take up from here. Next talk. Om Shanti. Shanti Shanti.